Under the first item, there was a question submitted for potential discussion about construction tours, building tours that the board might be interested in. So under reports, when Mark goes through his construction updates, once he's finished that, I was thinking that might be a good spot for the board if you'd like to have that conversation. And, we can talk about what that looks like, what the board's interested in seeing. Give us some ideas so that we can kind of come up with a game plan on how to work on that and the timeline for that. Then the second item will be a discussion on the consulting, the discussion about the use of consultants in the district. I'm owning that. I did not realize that needed to be on a discussion item. That's my fault. However, that conversation, I thought instead of putting it at the back under board comments, that we can place that
It's haunted.
I was like, wait, what's going on? Is there a bad echo in here? That conversation could be under committee reports as well during the plaque conversation, because during the plaque report out, they did have the conversation about the use of consultants during the meeting. They did run out of time, so it's going to be an ongoing agenda item for their next committee meeting, but I thought that could be also another good opportunity for the board to have that conversation there instead of waiting to the end of the board meeting. And again, my apologies about that oversight. That's on me. So that's it.
All right, thank you. All right, celebrating successes. Every wish has a place at J.B. Nelson. Tonight, we welcome Ashley and Nicole Prentice. Ashley is a reading specialist. Nicole is the principal at J.B. Nelson Elementary School to celebrate their great work in developing a belonging campaign centered around the book Wish Tree. Thank you.
We also have
Oh.
Megan Baker here. It's okay.
Extra special guest.
Yes,
Definitely.
and we actually brought a copy of the book for the board members. So this is the book. You get to keep it.
Do you have the audio version?
Well, actually, stay tuned.
Yeah. Hold on.
you
Wait,
so
wait for the
much.
presentation. Yes.
Did you ever read this one? This is good, I bet. So I bet you're gonna read it.
All right, so we're super excited to share with you guys about our One Book, One JB. So our T-shirts also go with, this was a student made these, so our whole staff has the shirts. Super fun. So we are doing Wish Tree as our book that every family in our school received Wish Tree, and we're going to tell you a little bit about it. So the purpose is our theme this year has to do with belonging and inclusion. So Wish Tree has all of those themes. This is kind of our purpose, to show that all students belong at J.B. Nelson, also just to foster a love of reading and build those family connections between literacy at school and at home. So this was our kind of kickoff that we did, it was a couple weeks ago. That is me in the squirrel costume right there, if you don't recognize my face there. So we did a super fun little skit to kick it off, and Megan's the butterfly, just in case you didn't know that as well. So the kids had so much fun with it. We basically kind of acted out the first chapter of the book in front of the kids and wore costumes and stuff, and they thought it was super fun. And then we delivered, that's us delivering the books to each classroom to get them all hyped up about it. So each family got a book, and then inside the book was a bookmark with the dates to read each chapter and information about the literacy night. So that was our little kickoff. Mrs. Bach, our amazing art teacher, made this mural in our LRC, and she's adding animals to it every other week, and then the kids get really excited and they're like, oh, look, now there's a crow on it. And so that's been super fun. And then we have our own wish tree. So this is in our courtyard. All of those are little pieces of fabric that each teacher and student wrote their wish for the year, and then they all got hung on our wish tree in our courtyard. And it's just been fun to have the kids be like, oh, it's our wish tree, and they see it outside the window, and that's been really cool to see. We've also been doing these little weekly riddles. So Nicole reads on the announcements every Tuesday that there's a different animal from the book hiding in our school, and they have to find it somewhere. So we have a stuffy of each animal from the book, and then the kids find it in the hallway or in the LRC, and they don't get anything for it, but they just get excited to find the little animals. So trying to keep the excitement going throughout the weeks has been fun. And Oh, speaking of the audio books, yep, this is Megan.
So it was important that we made sure that every family had universal access to the book. We knew that not every family might speak English and be able to read the book that we sent home. And frankly, not every family might have the time at home to read the chapters that we assigned. So we invited teachers from our community at JB Nelson and members of our community of Batavia at large to come and read chapters in front of our beautiful wish tree. And our LRC director, Caitlin Fink, taped each of those chapters, and then we linked them to a virtual bookshelf, which you can see a little sample up in that corner. And you can see the variety of JB staff members down there reading those chapters. And each chapter is linked, and then each week we reveal a new bookshelf till the end of the book. And then they are linked to Google Classrooms, so families have access to the books. And then kids will have access to the whole book, that they can always go back and listen to the book. And they get excited to see who is reading the next chapter and seeing their teachers and people around the building. So here are some of the JB staff members. And on the next slide are some of our community members that came and read. Superintendent Kim, Catherine Murray, and Amy from the Batavia Public Library. So it was just super fun and a way to make sure that even if families didn't have time to read every chapter at home, all students had access to this book and that everyone could enjoy Wish Tree, because it really is a phenomenal book.
It's me.
We also set up, this is Caitlin Fink, our LRC director, set this up, again, to just keep the momentum going. We launched it in August, and our night is not till November. So we just wanted to make sure that, like, people didn't forget about it, and the excitement keeps going. So we have weekly trivia going for the chapters that were assigned. In K1, the trivia is actually linked within that virtual bookshelf on those little mushrooms, and the classroom teachers have access to it. And in grades 2 through 5, they're linked in the Google Classroom. And then each week there is a winner that gets a prize. At the beginning of the year, it was a $20 gift certificate to our book fair. And then in this upcoming week, it will be like a little kit to do an art project with our art teacher. So just to keep that momentum going until November. So just keeps the kids excited.
And kindergarten and first grade do it with their teacher.
Yes.
So all students get to participate in the trivia. I read it on Friday, or I remind them on Friday. They have till Monday at the end of the day, just in case they need the weekend to, oh yeah, I didn't finish reading. So they have the weekend, and then they can answer the question on Monday, and then I announce the winner. And then our culminating event will be a family literacy night on November 20th at 6 p.m. And this is really what brings it all together. So our theme is belonging. We launch with the book. We talk about what it means to have belonging, right, and to include everybody. We teachers created our wishes, the students created their wishes, and then that final piece is, you know, as part of the strategic plan, we focus on belonging, we focus on parent partnerships, and so we want to have a night where all of the families can come in, and spoiler alert, they're going to get to make their own wishes as well. So we want the families to make wishes that are going to get added to the tree. We're going to have lights on the tree in the courtyard, and we're going to also give them an opportunity to make a wish as a family that they can take home. So one can stay with us, but also one that they could start that tradition at home and talk about what their wishes for their family. There will be raffles and prizes for families that attend, and they'll participate in activities that relate to the book. But most importantly, we're just trying to bring our community together around that theme of belonging. So that will be our culminating event in November. And I also invited the board to that event, so you should have that on your calendars as well. And that's our celebration. Thank you so much for having us. We hope you enjoy. It's a very quick read. I read it in one sitting, and it's a really good book. It's a good one. So I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Anybody have any comments or anything they'd like to share?
I just have a quick question. For the read-alouds that you guys taped, is there a way for families that maybe are, don't speak English, is there like a subtitles thing that they can go on to? I'm just curious.
It's a really good question. That's something that we could go back and add.
I mean, I don't wanna make extra, right? It's
No,
just
no,
like,
that's a really good question, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. That was amazing, sir. Thank you appreciate the time. Thank you. All right. Public comments. Holly, do we have anyone wishing to address the board tonight?
Yes, we have two.
Okay, thank you. All right, welcome to the meeting of the Board of Education. If anyone wishes to address the board this evening, of which we have two, please, Sarah, recording secretary, submit a form for addressing the board. Please put your full name and address on the form. In general, the board will not answer questions or engage in dialogue during public comment. This does not mean we do not take your concerns or comments seriously. The board values active community participation in the district's endeavors and encourages people to engage with the district using appropriate channels and systems designed with your input in mind. Board members are not involved in the day-to-day operations of the district and cannot engage in district business individually. If you have any specific questions or would like to further engage with the district, you may submit your questions using the link on the website, and the appropriate staff member will reach back out to you. Thank you. Who's our first person for the evening?
We have Haley Lamb.
Welcome.
My name is Haley Lamb, and my two children attend Louise White. And I am here to request a response to my email regarding recess. My attempts to resolve this matter with administration, where recess was withheld punitively from my child, has been an uphill battle for 4 months. I have felt dismissed, and my concerns about the legality of recess as punishment have gone unanswered. I've been told 8:45 to 9 a.m. is recess, which is prior to the beginning of instructional time. The Regional Office of Education confirmed 2 weeks ago that that is untrue. I've been told that there is nothing admin can do or building staff, and that my concerns are merely a disagreement with how the district interprets the law. The lack of curiosity about my child's situation, coupled with the inability of our admin's part to believe that they could be wrong, has now led to all of our schools having to redo their schedules a month into the school year per the ROE. This has not addressed my concerns, but rather alarmed me into notifying you as a board. I request a response from the board to my email with supporting documentation as to whether or not Batavia will comply with this law that states recess may not be withheld punitively from students and that it requires 30 minutes per day. I am disappointed at having to bring this to you, but I have felt the administration has not had the best interests of our children and students at the center of their response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second public comment is from David Kiros.
Good evening. I'm going to go off script for 1 second and just say I missed last week's meeting. I think it was the last meeting you had where Paulette Ali presented on the early childhood program. Just wanted to congratulate on a great start to the early childhood program with your youngest learners in the district. Starting off great. My name is David Kierls. I am the regional manager with Birth to 5 Illinois, an exciting new initiative here in the state of Illinois. Birth to 5 Illinois works locally to build a stronger, more inclusive, and equitable early childhood system that puts the family stories at the center of policy and program decisions. This system was created to better understand how to help families with young children thrive in their communities. We listen to families and document their challenges and successes around accessing childcare and early education opportunities. Some of these caregivers are residents of the school district here. We listen, we ask questions, and we share back feedback to both sides. Locally and throughout the county, we don't see enough programs and services that have nearly enough preschool, childcare, and early intervention openings for the children. We share these wants and needs with the leadership, and we bring the challenges up to you and other officials. Some of those include the Regional Office of Education and the 9 other school districts that comprise it, as well as local and state elected officials. Over the past 2 years, Birth to 5 Illinois' regional team has published an early childhood regional needs assessment, a mental and behavioral health report, and an action plan that not only outlines some of the challenges within our early childhood system, but more importantly, make recommendations and outline action steps for how we can better support children throughout Batavia and the entire region. Our Birth to 5 Illinois team is currently working with providers, local community leaders, libraries, and families to address the recommendations they have talked to us about. Their continued feedback and input serve as a roadmap for our work, and we also work alongside our funders, the Illinois State Board of Education, and we look forward to the new Department of Early Childhood that will encompass several existing programs under this new state department starting this year. As we continue to engage with local leadership, I also seek to engage with school district administration. School districts play a critical role in the community, aiding parents and caregivers on where they hope to start and grow their families. I want to make sure that school districts are aware of the importance of early childhood and continue to build this foundation. Thank you so much. I would invite you to take a look at our reports, which are available on our website, and I have some materials and copies here that I can leave as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And if there's anything you want to leave, you can leave it with Cindy. We can pick it up afterwards. So, okay, thank you very much. And next is BPS Partners. Drew?
Hi, everyone. I don't have a whole lot to say tonight, so I'll be brief. So number one, in speaking with our members in the past several days or so, one of the hot topics that are being discussed relate to the ever-increasing complexity of the needs of our students, especially within our high-needs programs. Again, thematically, this has been a pretty consistent discussion for about the past 10 days at various levels. To address these needs at the building level, we've been advising our members to use the mechanisms in our contract to use the formalized relief process in order to better support both general education and related service educators. I'd also like to think that the BEA does a good job of keeping district administrators in the loop when concerns are brought to us, and that our district administrators share our problem-solving spirit as we continue working together to address some of these needs. But these discussions over the past 10 days have raised larger questions within our union about how we as a district prioritize staffing and resources to best support both our members and our students. I finally made it over to HC Storm for open house. That was the first time I've been there since they did the construction, and I was blown away by the building improvements. The BHS and RMS LRCs, amazing. These upgrades are already making a difference for our staff and students, and I commend the board and administration for working towards warm, safe, and dry without the benefit of a referendum. And hell, what do I know? Maybe we need to start up that referendum discussion again. I'm game. But I want to make sure that as a board, you continue to keep what is becoming a large area of concern for our members on your radar, investing in instructional tools and staffing to better support our students and educators. Our message to our members at our general meeting is the same every single year. The BEA is here to support you so that you can support your students. I'm confident that the Board of Education and district administration feel the same way about our staff. At last month's board meeting, I heard a lot of, what does the BEA think? What does the BEA think? And if anyone would like further insight on why these conversations have been coming to the forefront, there are formal channels to receive that input, and we should have a mutual interest in strengthening those channels as well. Finally, a shout out to our art teachers. Batavia High School has been named a School of Distinction by the Illinois Art Education Association for the third time, one of only 5 schools in Illinois to earn this honor. So props to Andrea Schindlebeck, Jen Carpenter, Kayla Koss, Jen Melendez, Emily Smith, and Kathleen Terryton, and a general shout out to all of our art educators across the district for being grade A rock stars. That's all I have for you tonight. Good luck.
Thanks, Drew. Sorry. All right, consent, oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping right over you. I apologize. All right, Grace Nelson is not able to make it this evening, but our student ambassador, Kaya, would you please fill us in on a few things?
Hi, guys. It's been a hot minute since I've seen everybody.
Which is why I almost skipped right over, so.
I know, I can't believe this. It's okay. We have a lot to say because we skipped the first one. That was like the first week of school, so we didn't have anything to say. Grace is at work. We miss her a lot. She's in our hearts. Okay, starting off with sports. We're actually doing really, really good. Football, we lost once, but it's okay because we have 3 wins, and I think we're doing really good. Our first game was the loss, and we also lost 7 of our starters. 5 of them are still injured. But it'll be okay. Boys soccer actually is playing a game right now. Tri-Cities Night is on Thursday. They had their first win in a while. Yeah, 3 years. No, yeah, my brother played on the team for a while, and it did not go so well for them. But one of their players, Connor Verdi, is the Kane County Athlete of the Week. That was great. Tennis has had a lot of wins, but their last tournament did get rained out. Volleyball's been doing good. Cross country's really good. Swimming, girls golf, everything's really good. Everyone's really excited about it. Okay. Clubs and events. Our student section for the football games has been popping. We are so good. We're so hype all of the time. It's a whole lot of fun. Class Olympics happened. Seniors won volleyball. Definitely won against the teachers too. But we won't talk about that. Homecoming, there's me and Grace up there. We went in the same group. We were so cute. Everything was actually great. We had a boy band. That was insane. They were really good. Homecoming parade was great. Senior sunrise was awesome. Everything's just kind of starting up. Like, there hasn't been really many events. Like, honor societies are just starting. Their memberships just kind of got flown out. Yay, new library. Yay, new library. That's really great. Key Club had a bake sale this past week. Their proceeds went to neuroscience research. I thought that was really cool. We are starting this attendance challenge. It's been happening for since like school started, and the freshmen are winning, which is really embarrassing, but kind of expected. Okay.
Could you elaborate on what that challenge is?
It's like obviously they take attendance every day, but like they're doing it based on grade level, and at the end of the term, they give the grade level that's had the most like people have shown up, they're giving them some kind of prize. We don't really know what the prize is, but it's a prize, which is, I'm not going to win that. Okay, music. There's not actually a lot going on. Marching band had their first competition on Saturday, which they got first place in. It was great. You can see Lane Stall in the corner. That's their marching band costume. Color Guard. There's an improv show, October 1st. You guys should come. I'm in that. You should come. Little Mermaid is November 6th through 9th. I'm also in that. My hair is going to be bright red in about a month. So be warned. Next meeting, I may have red hair. And Tri-M. I don't know if you guys have been in the music hallway like during the month of October, but they decorate it like starting October 1st. It's like decked out for Halloween, and it's really cool. And I would recommend trying to get in there because it's awesome. Okay, my last slide before I'll let you guys be. Middle school. There's middle schoolers in the musical. There's probably about 10 of them in the high school musical. It's really cool. They're great. I love them. RMS Cheer, they have open gyms. They have had for a few weeks now. Their tryouts are on the 2nd. The 8th graders got to play with the marching band at the homecoming game. That was adorable. Lots of cross-country, volleyball games, football games. On the 8th, they have a walk-to-school day. I always loved walk-to-school days because I had to do it anyway. And on the 1st, they have coffee with the principal. 8th graders are also in marching band. That's my little brother in the corner. His name is Soren. If you see him in public, do not say hi. He will not say anything to you. Yeah, I think I'm done. Thank you, guys.
Good. Thank you. Good job doing all the heavy lifting today. All right, next is consent agenda. According to our board policy, we designate a portion of the agenda as consent agenda for those items that do not usually require extensive discussion before board action. These items are generally routine, recurring, and can be grouped together for efficiency. Steve, would you please take us through the list?
I would be happy to. 5.1 and 5.2 is the approval of our August 19th, 2025 meeting minutes and our closed session meeting minutes. 5.3 and 5.4 is the approval of the September 10th, 2025 special meeting minutes and closed session meeting minutes. 5.5 is our monthly personnel report. 5.6 are monthly payrolls and bills. 5.7 is the destruction of our closed session recordings from February 20th, 2024 and March 19th, 2024. 5.8 is the acceptance of donations. Shout out to BAF and the JBN PTO, the Illinois Reading Council, and BYA for their generous donations. 5.9 is the approval of the annual administrator and teacher salary and benefits report. 5.10 is the authorization to begin the development of the FY '27 budget. 5.11 is the authorization for the disposal of surplus property. And 5.12 is the approval of our insurance benefits plan. And finally, 5.13 is the approval of the complete consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have questions or comments? Aaron?
I do. I was wondering if Josh could get up and give a little more color to 5.12.
All right, so all things insurance. And Aaron was on the insurance committee for a long time, and Kristen has joined us recently, so thank you. But really, this process starts in January, and the committee reviews claim data month after month after month, and really has to weigh how do we maintain costs while keeping high-quality benefits. So the committee made 3 really big changes to the plan to save over $1 million, which has allowed our costs to only increase by 8%. The industry norm is anywhere from 16 to 18%, which would have been really detrimental to our budget. And it kind of outlines those changes here, moving to a tiered system. It's called a Blue Choice option, and that saves about $500,000. Eliminating one of the pieces of the incentive, the wellness incentive, that was $180,000. And then rebidding out our pharmacy, we use a pharmacy carve-out, and that saved us almost $400,000 just by going back out to the market and rebidding those savings. So the committee has done a lot of work to maintain our benefits plan. We'd love to say that there was no increase. We'd love to say it was less than 8%, but we got it down to that. When you talk about percentages, it doesn't really mean a lot to an individual, like 8% of what, right? So a family plan will go up $14 a paycheck. So that's what that will equate to. So just to give you some context on what that means for an employee.
Thank you.
Other questions on that? I hope that helped.
So just a point of semantics and clarification. So when you say it saves $1 million, what it really means is it reduced the increase by
Yes,
$1 million.
you are exactly right. Yes, it
Okay.
reduces
Just want
the
to make sure
increase.
people realize it wasn't going back into our coffers.
No,
as it were.
no.
We're just minimizing the hit.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions on any other items? If not,
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
thank you, sir. Okay, hearing no other comments or questions, I will entertain a motion to approve all items in the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Katie, second by Aaron.
Second.
Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Swisicki,
Yes.
Sliger,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Orlando,
Yes.
Garros,
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes. All right, reports. Tom, FOIA.
Yes, FOIA requests have been presented to the board. So they're in front of you, a little bit heavier this month. I think we had a lighter month last month, but no one can ever predict when we'll get requests. Yep. So that's it.
Okay. Next, treasurer reports. Tony.
Treasurer reports are included for your review. There's nothing out of the ordinary, especially for this time of year.
Any questions? Okay. Committee reports. Tom.
All right. So, board, you can see that we have included, now that we're kind of into the swing of the year, we have committees starting to meet again, and so there are reports there of the board level committees. One of the ones that occurs only quarterly, just a reminder, is the BIC group. And so attached are the minutes and the presentation that was provided them on the district's behalf. So thank you, Danielle, for being there that morning. Thought there was a great start. We have some new faces in that committee. In particular, there's been some officer changes on the PTO groups. And a really good discussion. So aside from that, I did want to then kind of lean into a little bit of what I alluded to at the start of our meeting. there was a conversation about the use of, the district's use of consultants, last month's meeting. And so, Plaque had a conversation about how to evaluate the effectiveness of all outside consultants, that the district may contract with. And so, kind of putting that back into the arena for the board to have that conversation. That's it.
All right, so this is our discussion point on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, I went back and watched the last board member meeting around this, so the way I recall that portion of that board meeting was, and from what I saw, was that we were gonna kind of give some guidance, if we had any specific opinions or general ideas about not the use of consultants or any specific consultants, but what things we might want to know as they come to us to get consultant approvals for contracts or whatnot around that. So I didn't know if anybody had any things that they would like to share so that we can develop a consensus amongst the board in a way to be able to provide them guidance so that when they come, they will have a best ability to keep us understanding of what their needs are.
I have something, oh, you wanna go ahead?
You can go ahead.
I wrote my thoughts down, so this is from me. So when it comes to consultants, my statement would be, I recognize there are times when bringing in a consultant is not just beneficial, but necessary for our district to access specialized expertise. When the administration brings a proposal forward to use consultants, it would be helpful for me to understand the specific rationale. It could be a unique challenge, a tight timeline on a deliverable, or a skill set or expertise we don't have on staff or within the organization. With that context, my focus then shifts to, after I understand why, how we can maximize that partnership. I'd appreciate defining the goals for that consultant and the link between the consultant's work and how it impacts our strategic priorities. This allows us to track the value and impacts for our staff, students, and community. And finally, perhaps a look at the investment versus the anticipated return allows us to be thoughtful stewards of community resources. This process isn't about creating hurdles for the administration, but about ensuring we are all confident about these partnerships and that they're set up for success and deliver meaningful results for the district and community. End of statement.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yeah, just to build off of Aaron's, like, who would they be working with and why? What is their expertise that they're bringing to the table? For any consultants that we're gonna renew, I would just ask, like, how many contact hours the consultant has with BPS personnel? Were the contacts or BPS employees satisfied with the consultant's work or help that they did? Has the consultants improved what he or she was hired to consult on? What KPIs were used to measure the consultant's work?
Can you define that so people who may not
Key
know what?
Key performance indicators.
Thank you.
And then, what were the before and after examples of the consultant's impact?
So there's two parts to that, just to kind of, I'm taking some notes. One of them is, if they're a new consultant, kind of explain what their expertise will be and what they will bring. If it's a renewal, give some examples as to how that consultant benefited.
Right.
I'm greatly paraphrasing,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
benefited the efforts of the
Yeah.
district.
And I would like to know, I would like our employees' feedback, whoever they work with, like, yes, they were great, they provided X, Y, Z, or,
Okay.
I think that's valid. If they're gonna still work with that employee, they have a good working relationship and so forth. I think it was valuable.
Okay. Others?
I have some questions I thought might be helpful, then there's probably some overlap here too, but, is the consultant providing a long-term approach with train the trainer sessions so staff can train others in the future? That may not be possible in every situation, but it seems like that should be a goal. Also, is there a way to measure the results of the work the consultant is doing? Have other consultant options been explored to find the best option at the best price? And what feedback do we have from teachers about this consultant if they've been used in the past?
Okay.
I guess another question is when we get a new consultant, what's the process? Like, do we, how do we start? Like, let's say we need somebody to consult on, I have no idea. Let's say EL, like, hey, we wanna get a better EL program, I guess. Like, what do we do?
Like, how do we go to bid, you mean?
Yeah,
or-
like that's just it, like what do we, like I know we do have our bidding process, but is that what we do, our bidding process, is just put it out there, or do we reach out, is there certain, I guess, consulting firms that we know, or that you've known in the past and say, hey, well, let's reach out to them, like, I'm just curious, how do we get them?
Our resources are typically pretty, I think the range comes from whether we're working with the ROE. The ROE has staff there, that their primary role is to support school districts that are reaching out for consulting services or particular skills and areas or topics that a district's initiative is working, we're working on, and then they come in and help and support. In other examples, it might be where we're working with a new group for our curriculum, and so they provide us the on-site training. And the example I'll use is Amplify. In other cases, it depends, like our trained consultants for HVAC, that's kind of steered towards the agreement that we have already with them. And they provide us the consultative services for Mark and his team when we have systems failing, or if we're looking to improve. Dave, I know, uses his groups. Dave shops prices on, typically Dave's presentations when he's asking the board to approve new software supports and consulting groups for our cybersecurity. He presents some of the finances and what he's done, and, so our administrative teams go out and do their homework, or some of their teams will help, the leadership team go find that work. I don't know, Brad, did I cover everything, or is there anything else that you
No,
want to add?
yeah, there's a variety of ways.
Kind of depends on like who the consultant is
Yeah.
and what they're doing, about how you would approach doing
Mhm.
that, right? So, okay.
Mhm.
What I am kind of hearing a little bit, picking up on what you said to others, is almost like if it was a new consultant, do like, as an example, like David does, is this is the process I went get through to bring this person to you that you need to approve. If it's a new one, talk about the experience and why it makes sense to continue the relationship with them if it needs to be done on an annualized basis or whatever the term is. I'm just paraphrasing that part. That's not a summary of what everybody else has said, so.
I found through the Institute of Education Services, it's lengthy, but it was a presentation called Using Cost Analysis to Inform Decisions About Professional Learning. And there are a ton of slides in here that just talk about ways to think about costs, cost metrics useful to decision makers, total program costs, average costs per teacher served or student served, range of costs per participant, et cetera. Can I send that to admin? Is that something that you would want to
Send it
look
to me,
over?
absolutely.
Okay.
Dominic
All right.
Irving.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Take a look at that.
Any others?
I think the only thing I'll add is, and I pretty much agree with everything that was said already, but the way I look at it really is more general. I want, when you're presenting a contract or a consultant, and this is high level, it's just, what are the benefits? A couple bullet points, a little color around that, the value story, and that's gonna change for whatever the particular issue is or circumstance that you're talking about. So for me, it's more about just communicating what the benefits are, and I'll leave it up to you to decide what those key pieces of information should be.
I have one more thing, I guess, to add, is that, the district, in my opinion, from my chair, has done a good job managing community resources. So, to Rob's point, when we're spending money on consultants, I trust the judgment of our team that they're doing it wisely and for the right reasons. But to his point, just the rationale and then what the anticipated impact is and then how we're measuring that success. So for me, it's not really a measure of we're being careless with community resources. It's just, I I don't want to speak for fellow board members, but just, okay, this is what we're using, what's the impact we're hoping, and then how are we measuring if it is successful, I guess would be what I would say.
Okay. My only thing to kind of add, and it actually relates a little bit to what Katie just mentioned, and I don't even know what's in that PowerPoint slide, but just.
60 pages.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'll add it right after this. Is, just kind of an understanding of, like, are they providing the service that you're requesting of them? And that if there's set hours, or as you said earlier, are there contact hours? Just double checking before it's brought to us that, yes, they're meeting up with that, they're meeting the base minimums of what the requirements of their contract is, et cetera. Presumably that they wouldn't even be getting that far if they don't align to that, or they're on some sort of kind of corrective process, if that's the case, but you still need them for whatever reason. So that was the only thing I would say that I would add. So, how do you guys see as us providing a cohesive direction to them? Do you see, like, maybe Katie and I working together? I'm not trying to volunteer you for anything. I'm trying to summarize these things, and kind of, we can work with Tom on whether we can send out an informative post or email that just says these are the things we heard, and then give us a chance to digest those and say, okay, yes, that's what we want. We don't have any consulting contract needs coming up in the next couple of meetings, right?
Steve, Brad, Tony, do you have anything coming in the next 2 months, 3 months?
That if we were able to kind of
Tony's thinking.
a summary back at the next meeting, so this is what we expect, that would kind of close it out. Sure. So, and
Sounds
gives
good.
everybody a chance to say, yes, I read this, I read it, I understand it. And
You guys have
move on.
something?
And I think,
Okay. So right now, it seems to be that the answer is no. So
Okay.
there's some time for these kinds of discussions, and that's good, because it gives us time to kind of look into some of these discussion points. Also, as I noted, Plaque will be bringing this back as part of the conversation. Katie, you sit on that committee now, right? So
yes. So that, honestly, we kind of went to them with, well, how, what do you think you should use to evaluate? And they kind of came back to us with, well, what do you think we should use to
Right.
evaluate? Because they went out to other districts and asked them, how do you evaluate your consultants? And the answer was basically, we don't, or this is, so I don't, it doesn't seem like it's inventing the wheel, but it might be in some
it
ways.
probably is
It'll
to
probably
some
be a
degree.
collaborative effort
Yeah.
for both of us, but yes, we can kind of communicate back and forth between Plaque and the board on that.
If I could just add, because I kind of stayed quiet for once, but I'm totally, I think we're all kind of on the same page, and I think where the consultants come in, like you were kind of speaking to, when Mark, David, Josh, you guys come up, you guys do give a lot of backgrounds, hey, this is how I arrived here, I got bids, and this and that, and when we're talking about the consultants that our teachers are working with, and that, it's a little different than saying, hey, it's this price for this piece of material, and so, but I think Ron may have mentioned, that is that's helpful though, it's helpful to understand, I did this, here's how I talked to 3 different people, and this is where I arrived at this. Even though this was lower, this makes more sense in the long run, or whatever. And even though we're not the experts in it, and we're trusting you all, it gives us that picture. And then I think that's what we were missing in the last conversation, is when we were talking about approving those consultants, we weren't understanding, are the teachers getting anything out of this? How are we measuring how this is actually, are we getting worth out of value? Did we talk to any other consultants and compare prices? And so I think that part was missing for me, but I get it out of some of the other consultant talks. But it's a totally different experience. We're talking about materials, we're talking about programs versus how it's affecting our teachers. But I guess it's not all that different. It's still that data piece and understanding that if that can be explained to us, then we understand the picture of it. How did you arrive at this consultant? Did you talk to other consultants? So, because in the end, we are responsible for the financial parts of the district. So it makes decisions feel a lot more thorough and thought through.
Can I ask if everybody generally feels that one of the goals of this process is to not make it so cumbersome that it's difficult to bring things to us? That the information's clear, kind of consistent, because we know that each one's gonna be a little different case for them, but there's kind of these minimum 3 or 4 points maybe that we would like to at least know, and then if there's other questions, we can ask them in advance of the board meeting when the board packet comes out. Does that make sense? I also want to make it clear that when as a person who's in the service industry, it's not always about dollar values, because sometimes you pay what you get what you pay for, right? And so I don't want it to say that, this is all about dollars, because I've also worked with, that's what that says? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, how
So-
to talk about dollars. in
Yeah,
terms of-
because I also have worked with organizations that are fearful or apprehensive, to put it lightly, of using consultants at all. And it puts an extraordinary burden on their already lean administrative staff. And so while we're pretty lean from an administrative perspective compared to other districts, so. So does that make sense? Okay, all right, so Katie, you and I will work together, try to condense this into
Yep.
something, and then I'll email it out for informational purposes, and if you would all call or get back to me individually that says, yes, you concur or not, we can then formalize it at the next meeting. Okay. All right, does that work for committee updates?
I actually have an
Does-
update.
Yeah, go ahead, no, anybody's got any other ones?
I didn't know if other people did.
Okay.
I don't have to go first. If you want to go down that line, that's fine.
Anybody have any others than Aaron?
I am.
Okay.
All right, so for CAC, you can see the CAC update. I'll just kind of add a few things to it. So the CAC team reviewed the work on science, ELA, and social studies subject area, the SALT teams. For science, they discussed the next steps for the philosophy and NGSS standards, which will guide the selection of instructional materials. In ELA, the team has updated the power standards and literary framework. They completed a gap analysis and will look for a secondary resource. In social studies, they are relooking at the inquiry journeys, and planning to revise look at the resource, as well as planning the process for middle school resource exploration. So he was going to send an email out to middle schools, social studies teachers to see who would want to be on that SALT team. So hopefully they'll get feedback for that. And then, it says Heather Breon, who's an 8th grade math teacher, she provided an update on the EM2 implementation, which that was that math curriculum that we approved. Just to give a little bit, they all said that the math is good, however, the lesson preps are very hard and labor intensive. So they like it, but it's just a lot of work, particularly for the first year that they're doing it.
Is that because it's all new, you think?
I think it's because it's all new, and I think some teachers have to prep for different maths as well. It's not like you have 4, I'm just gonna say this, and like math 1 classes. Like, I might have a math 1 class, and then I gotta prep for the advanced math class, so it's just different preps, and it's hard. And she also said that, like, she has already given out 71 retakes in math, just because it's tough. And so
I'm guessing that's a lot more than normal.
it is a lot normal. Yeah, it's a lot more than normal. But they like the math, but they just said it'll be tough. So they are looking at seeing what they can do for math teachers as far as maybe giving them a little bit of extra time to maybe prep and so forth. Because they go home and they're grading tests or lessons, and then they still have to prep for the next day. And so they're just kind of struggling a little bit.
But you said they like the material?
They do like the
Okay,
material.
cool.
They said it's really good. They also kind of said, hindsight 2020 is maybe they should have rolled it out 6th grade first, then 7th grade, next year, and then 8th grade. But, it is what it is. So I think after this year, it will be better.
And I would presume in theory, like, this year's tough, but next year you're building off of the year before, so you have some of the things in place to help you minimize your effort on the first year, second year from your first year. I don't know anything about it, but I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah.
So,
It's a lot for special education teachers too, who
Yeah.
maybe have several subjects that they're teaching, and then they're having to learn this new math curriculum.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So, but they do like it, but it's just tough, is what they say. So moving on from that, they're gonna have 2 think tanks running this year. They talked about setting up for the trimester reflection, and then, we're updating on the FDK work, which the FDK is for, all-day kindergarten?
Yeah.
And just, what is it, purposeful play, they're looking at that. Kind of getting started, even though we don't have to implement full-day kindergarten until 27?
27, 28.
27, 28, we are starting to look at it for, and be concluding it next year, for 26, getting a little head start. And that's all I got.
I was gonna ask if Dr. Newkirk had anything to add about the math implementation?
I mean, Heather was very honest in the meeting, and we've been in classrooms, and I have biweekly calls with the teams that are helping to support the implementation. It's tough, right? All the teachers feel like new teachers, right? They're first-year teachers, and that's a hard feeling after you've been teaching for 25 years, is to feel like a brand-new teacher. So they've adopted a really good mindset around it. They're supporting one another. The middle school team especially has been, very supportive. Adam Lester, the assistant principal for curriculum, is teaching math lessons so the teacher can see it from a different perspective. The coach, Kelly, is filling in as well. So like they have a really nice supportive system, but it's just really tough work. And, Heather Raquel was right. Heather said this is the right math. We should be teaching it this way. It's the right pedagogy, but it's just a ton of work to get implemented. So we'll continue to look at ways to support them and grow. Part of the implementation team from EM Squared came in over the past week and, was really impressed by the middle school's growth in terms of implementation. Because it's a really very different way of teaching math. It's really getting kids involved in it, talking about it, collaborating around math, and conceptually understanding that math. One of the issues that we're having is that this is, like kids in 6th grade, it's very similar to what they had in 5th grade, so there's not a lot of gaps there. But then kids in 8th grade, where Heather's teaching, we've created gaps through different ways of teaching, through that misalignment of the curriculum, which is why we made this move in the first place, is to align the kindergarten through 8th grade math sequence there. And the kids in 8th grade just have bigger gaps that we've created through misalignment of curriculum. So they're having to refill in those gaps, and that's a lot of extra work for teachers too.
So is the hope that as this continues on, those gaps narrow, and so that transition is much less burdensome for the student and the teacher?
As you were talking about it, like the first time you teach anything, like they'll give you example problems, but which one's gonna work with these kids is, teachers have to figure that out through experience, and they're relying on one another. Like I taught at this block, so now what worked for you in this lesson? So they're doing that work, but it's nice to go through it a cycle and start to get that familiarity with it. Plus the filling in gaps from kids is exhausting for staff.
Well, I for one appreciate all the extra work the teachers are trying to do something they feel is very important to do.
What they're doing is very, very impressive. Very.
I think we all recognize that, so.
I think too, it's very quick math, and I think the directive is if you need to pause and go, at the end of the week and say, okay, we went over a lot, what do we need to work more on? I'll just say lesson, this week we did lesson 5 through 10. What do we need to work more on, on Fridays? Hey, what do we want? You guys wanna go over 6 again, just to give the teachers that more you don't have to constantly be go, 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 go. If you need to pause and go back, feel free to do that.
Okay.
They're feeling some pressure.
My daughter actually has Heather, and she's actually rolled out I don't want to call it tutor time, but it is something after school where kids can come in and just work on their work, and she's there to help them, which is hard to do in the other, even my daughter, I'm like, you gotta go, because she's having a hard time, right? But that just shows Heather's willing to put that forward, just to say, what are you struggling with this week? And I actually noticed that they've kind of pushed some of the tests and quizzes around, and I think it's for that reason. So they slow down and they're coming back to it. So, because my daughter's yeah, we have a test next week, and now it's in the next week after that, and then Heather's rolled out this time. And I don't know that everyone's doing it, but I'm so appreciative of that. That's not everyone has access to tutors or just that extra time from teachers. So that is really wonderful to hear. And I think that starts up next week or something.
Yeah.
She's going.
They're doing great work. They're using their Bulldog Hour for a lot of math.
Yeah.
Gap filling, so it's good that kids, I think it's a great skill for kids of self-advocacy. where they're saying, hey, I need help on this, I have access to my teacher during Bulldog Hour. Those are the exact advocacy skills that we want for our kids, so I'm glad they're taking advantage of that.
I think she's even doing after school, just to even, if you need more, which is really wonderful, so.
Okay. Thank you. Aaron?
So Holly, I'm sorry, I should have prepped you on this. Could you pull up Batavia Foundation.org/Hall of Honor? We're gonna do a little commercial here. Hold on. In my private life, I'm a salesman, so you gotta always be selling. So the Batavia Foundation for Educational Excellence has been very busy on September, oh, page not found?
Super busy. Wow.
What is that?
We've somehow landed in a different language.
That could be challenging, but, well, I'll keep talking while Holly surfs it and finds it. There we go, right there. On September 11th at the Fine Arts Center, 8 people were inducted into the 9th class of the BPS 101 Hall of Honor. The honorees included BPS 101 graduates Dr. Jack Hinterlong, class of 1966, Les Faltos, class of 1967, Brian Drendell, class of 1981, Michael Heaton, class of 1985, Coley Johnson Polakowski, class of 1999, and Aaron Colhagen, class of 2002. It also included employee Kim Anderson, or former employee Kim Anderson, and friend of the district, John Hamill. So this is a great night. I would encourage everyone, if you haven't been to one of these ceremonies, to attend. It's a great night for the inductees, their friends and family, and for the BPS 101 community. And for me personally, I'll just say it's an opportunity to learn. I always leave inspired, and I always leave with renewed energy on the impact public education can leave and make on people. Mr. Faltos in his comments said, public education is the gateway to opportunity in our country. He also had a good phrase that said, it's better to aim for the moon and miss than aim for a skunk and hit it. So I thought that was good too. I just thought that was funny, so I included that.
I haven't heard
But,
that one. I've heard at least you hit the stars.
I think we're aiming for the moon, we're not aiming for skunks. But what I love about the night is that we have educators, we have Olympians, we have artists, we have custodians, we have people that have made an impact in their own different, oh, there we go, there's a picture of everybody in their own way. So it shows that no matter what your role in life, wherever you land, you have the ability to make an impact on your community and on others. And so it really is something I would encourage people to do. And my computer just froze up here, so let me open it back up. I just want to thank a few people. But I want to thank the people that make that night happen. So I want to thank everybody on the 2025 Hall of Honor Committee, especially Chairman Ginny Gaspar and Secretary Ashley Murtaugh. And also thank Hall of Honor founders Joanne Spitz and Nan Phillips, who came up with this concept. And now it's a regular part of our daily calendar, or yearly calendar for the district. I want to thank Master of Ceremony Dominic Cotero and the Fine Arts Center staff for their hard work. The BPS 101 maintenance staff for making sure the facility looked fantastic. BHS orchestra musicians Naya Schoaf, Jake Widmer, Ali Meekum, and Natalie Lucas. They provided just elegant music that really set a tone for the evening. And also Wasco Nursery and the Batavia Park District for their contributions. And so Holly put up the site, but we are accepting applications now for the 2026 class. We're looking for graduates and former employees or people that have been contributors to the district. So if you know someone that you think is worthy of recognition, I would encourage you to participate, go on that website and submit. And we'll be taking nominations up until end of January, I believe. So it's a great event. It's a great way to celebrate our community. So I hope people take advantage of that opportunity.
All right, any others? Okay, next is board policy first reading. Tom?
Yes, so we mentioned this at the last board meeting with the with board policy 2110 going to second reading tonight. The associated policy to that is this one for the first reading, which is 2210. So in 2210, if you go to the website where we have the current language and then you can do the view proposed language, you'll see that we've added language that states, in even numbered years, the school board shall elect its officers at the first regular meeting in May, or as soon thereafter as practical. That's a typo. We should have to fix it. Tony, can you make a note of that for the website? That is to align because on odd numbered years, that meeting is controlled by school code. And so there's already our procedures that all of you are aware of since you went through it. You would be elected, and then we would have to hold a meeting to seat you, and then you would hold your officer elections. So then you get it. So so on an annual basis, it'll be one-year terms for all 3 officer positions of the board. So that's the first reading. Does the board have any questions about it? Because this is going to second reading with the other policy, we decided to forego, if you recall, the policy committee with Raquel and Aaron leading that meeting and bring it here for the first reading.
Any questions or comments on it? Nope. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, all right.
On first reading. Yeah.
On first reading, yep. Item 6.5, summer construction recap. Mark.
Tom?
No.
He's like, you got it. That's what he told me as he got up and walked
Right.
out.
Last update, well, some of you took a tour, actually, maybe all of you, but in June, I gave an update, and I know this is the first picture you saw. So this is what storm looked like. This is what storm looks like now. So basically, you're gonna see a theme here as we go through the pictures, the then and now. So I will first let, Holly, as you go through there, I'll talk a little bit. This is exactly what you saw. I thought it would be good, most of you saw this, so I didn't really change any of what it used to look like. So basically, you're looking at the main entry, old office area, which is now not the old office, and the new office as well. And if you go to the next one, this is what the entryway looks like when you walk in, and this is what the main office looks like. This is in the front of the building. So you can see outside, you can have those sight lines. It's very important for the people in that main office. If you go to the next one, okay, there's just kind of different pictures of what the music room is about to look like. Some of the main entry, what we covered up. It did say HD Storm, but it looks a little different now. Same type of symbol, but if you continue, that's what it looks like currently. And this is what the new music room looks like. I just talked to the music teacher, just kind of check in, because we had a couple things we're still working on, and the last items that were put in made a huge difference. So a concern before we did construction is you have the music room right next to the cafeteria. And how is that really gonna work? Really for both. Obviously, if there's lunches going on, it's gonna get loud. And she is extremely happy, and basically with the doors shut, obviously the door's open, you're gonna hear, but with the door shut, there's not a distraction. So you can see there's different acoustical panels that were intentionally put in to block that noise. So if you see some weird shapes, there's a purpose to them. So yeah, that's a success for the music room. So this is B-Pod looking into kindergarten rooms or what was really B0, B1, and B2. Also the old computer lab, which is, that's right, you can go. The old computer lab, which was not the old computer lab, and now it's the art room. Now new kindergarten rooms, the old and the new. So this is just one of them. There's 3 new kindergarten rooms. And before we start LRC, at HC Storm, there's a couple items that still need to be finished, and we knew about those. Really, one of them is what we call a cabinet heater that needs to be put in the ceiling. We don't need it now. It's 80 degrees out, so we intentionally waited until we had some days off to do that. So in the next couple weeks, that will be going in, and a couple other items that still need to be done, but nothing that's affecting any teaching and learning.
I can say that the contractors have worked every Saturday since the Saturday after July 4th. And they will be there this Saturday as well. So really, you get to the school year, unless they come in at 6 a.m., which they do for an hour or so, but mainly they're working Saturdays to get the work done. And really, unless you know it needs to be done, you wouldn't even notice it. It's that type of work. A lot of punch list items are going on, so things that need to be touched up, some paint, things like that. And the two LRCs, so the high school and Rotolo, that's what they used to look like. And this will be the same type of thing. So this was the high school library then, and this is the high school library now. A big difference, I can say. Obviously, Storm was too. The one thing you'll notice in the upper right-hand picture, if you look close, those are temporary lights. Those lights were delayed, we knew from the start. They're in, they go in on Monday. So those will take, we will have to shut the library down for a couple days because of the main entry, that's where you walk in. So they knew about that, it was just about when to schedule it. And then this will take about a week to do the completion of all the lights. And then Rotolo Middle School Library, the then, and here is the now. Rotolo, there's just a couple tech items that need to be done, which are, I just talked to Dave, I think that's next week. Yeah, October 1st is already next week, so yeah, next week. Those will be done. Nothing that's affecting anything going on there. It's just some things that did not get done during the construction time. I would say for Rotolo, what we found, there's new furniture, there's new soft seating, things to sit on. When you walk in, most kids that are just, independently working and working in groups are sitting right next to the windows on the floor. It's kind of that daylight, that natural light, things like that. So that was something that, I know Diana mentioned, she's like, yeah, this is every day. There's plenty of seats to sit in, but they want to sit on the floor.
Sounds like my house, when I had kids in there.
Any questions over any summer recap before we get into the next conversation?
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work, Mark, and your team. I know there's considerable complexity and time pressure.
Yeah.
And logistical issues.
10 weeks goes pretty quick.
I know it's sort of like school gets out at 3:20, and you got them in there like at 3:21 working, right? They're ripping stuff out and working, so good job.
Yeah, and from really HC Storm, we learned a lot for Louise White. We're well into Louise White already, but some things that, we're tweaking as far as plans go and timelines and things like that. But again, there will be surprises at Louise White too. It's just, the building's 47 years old and that's what it is.
That's the other dirty secret. You don't get much of a moment to rest. You're right on to the next year's one.
Oh, yeah.
So what's also really cool is Mr. Wall and the Louise White staff have already been invited by Mr. Milka on some of the upcoming days where there's some time for staff, if they want to come on over to HCS, they can come take a peek as to what that work looks like, right? Because it's similar school layouts, so they'll have an opportunity to take a peek at what their future beholds. And I thought that was really nice. You all right? Vice Mr.
No, man,
You're good?
Any other comments, accolades, well wishes? No?
Well, so now, though, going into the conversation, there was a board inquiry about, hey, is it possible to get into all the buildings and maybe even just see some of the programs or see how the school day looks as it's operating, or do the tour of the buildings while students are not in? So that was part of what I shared with all of you. I think if you give us some idea as to what you as a board collectively would like to do, we'll figure out a game plan and then communicate a draft of a plan to you to see if that suits what the board might be interested in doing. All right, I'm gonna go back because I gotta take notes.
Okay.
All right. So you're on the mic, everybody.
So that I was the one that brought it up to Tom because especially as a first-time board member, there are buildings that I have never even been inside of, so to be faced with making decisions about the buildings or how they function, it would be nice to see them. I think it'd be great to have a tour during the school day when the kids are there, but I don't know if that's possible with Open Meetings Act and, you know,
Yeah, in fact, I'll answer that question. We can absolutely do it. We would treat it very similar to what we did this summer when we had the one day of the building tours where we did have a majority of the quorum, so we posted it as a board meeting. What we'll do, very similarly here, is what we would do is draft a schedule with our principals, so that way we could publish what we were doing and where, and then, stick to that timeline. But, yeah, no, we can do that. So, if all seven you wanted to pick one day, I would say, if it's possible, we tried to do it on one date where everybody was available to do that, so, only because in the operational now with everyone in full swing of the school year, it's gonna be hard if we tried to do multiple dates. You know, we were able to be a little bit more accommodating because we were not in session yet. That would be the only request I have, but if it's impossible, we'll figure it out.
I don't, of course, you know, a lot of you have jobs during the day, those might not work, but I don't know if others would be interested in something like that.
There's also the opportunity with the invites that have been coming fast and furious over the past week or two, that's another potential opportunity to get into those buildings to go see something, because I'm sure as a part of it, you might, you know, the principal might be able to, as they're walking you back to the room, kind of give you a little lay of the land and whatever else, so. I don't have a particular opinion one way or the other about that, you know, about it. I think if people are interested, let's schedule something so they can attend as they are able, so.
So then would it be helpful if you kind of know now? I sense there's two, Katie and Kristen are interested. Are there other board members? Danielle, you're interested?
I'd say you can invite me, and if I can make it, I can make it, and if I can't, I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you just open it up to whomever might be available that day.
Yeah.
Then we plan it far enough in advance, so it could be an open meeting, proper open meeting.
So you want me and the team to figure out a date and just propose that date? Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay, so, all right, then we won't even mess around with that, all right, so we'll figure out a date and send it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think myself, almost like, you know, some of
Okay.
you with younger kids, you may have not ever been in the high school in any real intensive to even understand. I mean, it took me like, with my kids going there, like, almost to their junior year to figure out where the C hallway was, you know, so. I'm still not sure I know.
All right, cool,
Okay.
great, thank you.
All right. All right. So next action, that's it for summer construction recap? All right, board policies, second reading. Tom, can you lead us, please?
Yes, so these are the policies that were presented to the board. One particular update, we did, I reached out to both Raquel and Aaron if we could remove policy 7040, put that one on hold, because we are actually having an attorney review that particular policy just to make sure it aligns with all the practices and needs of our district. So, one of our attorneys is reviewing that with our administration to ensure if we have some other language we need to build in, we will bring that to the policy committee first, all right? So, but other than that, everything else, I think was presented last time. Raquel and Aaron, you spoke to it. And, team, is there anything else that we want to address on the policy side for second reading? I don't think so, right? Okay.
Can you give
That's
a
it.
brief synopsis for the one
Yeah,
you pulled?
yeah, sure.
So people not in the know might know?
So policy 2110 is regarding the board's length of terms for the three officer positions, which are president, vice president, and secretary. And that would be going from a 2-year term to a 1-year term. Policy 6150 talks about home and hospital instruction and expands the eligibility. And that would include then anything that is pregnancy-related, parenting, or safety needs. Policy 6235 is an access to electronic networks and to address the artificial intelligence-enabled tools that are being used in schools. And that is to create some network of safety for children's use on social media. Policy 7190 is about student behavior. That's some updated language to provide more clarity regarding sexting. Policy 7200 is our suspension procedures to update and align to the policy with Public Act 102-466. And then policy 7210 is about our expulsion procedures, and that's just being changed to align to 7200. So with one policy impacts the other. So we're making sure that the language is consistent. Policy 7250, student support services, that's an update in response to Public Act 102-466 as well. And talking about requiring annual notifications of counseling availability, and who that person at the building resource level would be. And policy 7255 is for students who are parents, expectant parents, or victims of domestic or sexual violence. This is a new policy, and that is in response, again, to Public Act 102-466.
All right, any questions? Okay, so these are being enacted kind of as a slate, so you would be voting on them all as a slate, so I presume nobody has any issues with pulling any of them out individually for a separate vote. Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the policy changes as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Raquel. Second by Danielle. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Armando,
Yes.
Garrels,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes?
Sliger,
Yes.
Spaciki.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If you look at 7.1, board policy, second reading, underneath, I had not marked that it was action in that particular item. It just shows discussion information. Will that be a problem in us accepting it? Since it's under action, can we still accept it?
Let's just confirm, we can confirm that and come back if we need to next week, but if the attorneys say that it
Yeah,
holds, it'll hold.
we can always do a reaffirming vote at the next meeting if the attorney said that would be the more safer approach for that. I'll make note of that.
Thank you for bringing that in, Cindy.
Nope. Thank you
Rather
for
be
bringing
safe
it
than
up.
sorry. Okay, thank you. All right, item 7.2, approval of activity bus purchase. Mark, so you brought this up a couple months ago, right? That you talked a little bit about it?
Yep, so the reason it's coming tonight is because when we originally got these buses for our 4-year lease, they were delayed. Because, yeah, that was COVID time, so they were delayed, so that's why it's normally, we do this over the summer. But in researching this over, well, it's been at least a year, kind of like everything else. We look to get the new lease, new buses, 5 exactly, and it doubled in price. So we had to kind of go back and figure out exactly what we want to do, and the best option is to buy the current buses. So we had leased, it was either a 3-year or 4-year lease. Oh, it's probably been not quite 20 years now. If I go through all leases, or all the different leases that we have done. And then the plan from there would be the highest mileage buses. We would trade those in and buy about 1 bus per year or per 2 years, depending on kind of really the wear and tear in the individual buses. So there's 5 buses right now, 3 of them mainly at the high school, 2 of them are mainly at Rotolo. And the reason I say mainly is because if the high school needs 4 for some reason, they just go get the Rotolo one, or vice versa. As far as maintenance goes, even with leases, there's maintenance. We have to give oil changes. You have to do safety checks. Windshield wipers, windshield wiper fluid, things like that, your general maintenance. That won't change. We'll continue to have to do that. The one thing that we will have to watch is the warranties. So just like your vehicles, you have a 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, depending on what it is. So we'll have to take that into consideration as far as, those higher mileage buses, we'll want to trade those in. And they still have a value. They still actually have a pretty good value because it's very difficult to get activity buses still. I looked into, this was early in the summer. If we wanted to purchase a new bus right now, it would take about 11 to 15 months to get that bus. I have not checked recently, but after tonight, I will, because really, even if we come back in a couple months, then we're not talking about till next year, hopefully at this time or later, until we would get that bus. For whatever reason in that industry with activity buses, it is just a very long lead time.
And so these are activity buses, so therefore they don't require special CDLs for staff.
Correct, yes. So yes, staff drives these, so coaches, even some teachers, depending on the level, and the high school level teachers can. There are some laws that say what students can be transported when, and I know those have been changing over time. It used to be you could only use them for after-school activities, and that's it. But now that law has changed a little bit, that you can take students during the day at the high school level now, field trips, things like that. But mainly these are used for after-school activities, and it's mainly athletic events. So for instance, like right now, the golf team is using them a lot. You have about 6 or 8 golfers. Instead of using a regular, contracting out the school bus, you just use these activity buses instead.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the 4-year lease buyout in the amount of $116,615 from Central States Bus Sales Incorporated. Motion by Raquel. Second.
Sorry.
I just
What's
saw a
that?
hand went up, I
Clear
just
your
said-
throat.
Yeah.
Second.
Second by Aaron. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Armando,
Yes.
Garrels,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Swisicki,
Yes.
Sliger,
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, time for board and administration comments. Tom, would you like to start with yours?
Yes. So tonight, I'd like to start by saying congratulations to Batavia High School and our Fine Arts Department and teachers, as Drew Ray has already pointed out earlier this evening. As the Illinois Art Education Association recognized them as one of only 5 schools in the state of Illinois to receive this prestigious award. This recognition celebrates schools with rigorous art, design, and media education programming. To earn the School of Distinction Award, Batavia High School evidenced practices that directly enacted the Illinois Professional Teaching Standards, the Illinois Fine Arts and Media Standards, and lastly, the Social Emotional Learning Priorities in the state of Illinois. Also, another update, I'd like to give great thanks to Cassie Blickham. She is the director of the Valise Regional Group for leading the first ever Aurora Region-based Career Expo, which will be held on October 24th. I hope that if you have time to be able to carve out to come to this event, it's the first time our region is doing this. There will be over 2,000 freshmen as a part of this event. And I'd like to extend my appreciation also and gratitude to Brian Canetto, who is the president of Waubonsee Community College, which is where this event will be hosted. And Margaret Perot, who is the president of the Batavia Chamber of Commerce, for being great partners and supporters of these kinds of initiatives for our students and their futures. Because even though it's the Aurora region base, Margaret was kind enough to say, I'll help, and we have the Batavia Chamber of Commerce being able to rally some of the businesses and professional career pathways groups to be there and be with our students. So that's really exciting. And then on a final note, I hope all are able to enjoy, learn, and experience all of the great events that are occurring during National Hispanic Heritage Month. I hope that everyone takes a moment to please check in on our Facebook page to continue to learn about the various Hispanic, Latino, and Latina Americans and their contributions to our country and to our community. Aside from that, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the month until we see them in the next meeting.
Okay. Board comments, would anyone like to start? Go ahead, Kristen.
I feel like I usually start, so
Yeah.
we start at this end. I have a few things I wanted to get board feedback on. Some of them have already been covered, so my list is shorter, but one of them is communicating with public about building improvements. One of the foundational principles of effective governance, according to IASB, is that the board connects with the community. I feel like we should be sharing with our community the improvements that have been made to our schools. I've reached out to Tom about this, and he told me that there's maybe something in the works, but I feel that students and caregivers that see that our district cares about the spaces where they learn can help them feel welcome. And our community members would appreciate seeing the way the district has thoughtfully used resources to provide safe, warm, and dry buildings. So I was wondering about the possibility of videos showing the improvements, maybe including student voices where we're asking kids, what do you like most about the changes made at the school? How does it make you feel to be in the spaces? We're only beginning our Safe, Warm, Dry initiative, and I feel like it would be in our best interest as a district to show the community what has been done, so that they're there to help us and encourage us with future projects. So I was just wondering if anyone else is interested in making sure that happens or getting some information about where we are in that process.
Anyone?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, the only thing I wanna make sure is, once we start that, right, like, we have some financial constraints and things coming up that we may need to slow down our safe, warm, and dry elements. So we need to be equally communicative about why and if things slow down, so that that people understand why these prudent financial decisions are being made. That's the only thing I would kind of say about it. And I personally don't wanna, I think your recommendations as to the things that might happen are great. I personally would say whatever makes sense and whatever fits within the time available would be amazing to see going out. So.
Yeah, I think it's more about showing them what's already been done.
Yeah, that's right. The next question is like, well, when's my school happening next,
Right.
kind of thing. So
Right.
you gotta be able to forecast a bit of a plan sometimes for people as well then. So, but we'll see how it goes. So. Okay.
All right, and we covered building tours. Another topic, gun safety education. In 2022, Bill HB 5193 passed with bipartisan support and added safe gun storage to the school safety curriculum code, allowing districts across the state to teach safe gun storage if they choose. So we do have a board policy that states in all grades a minimum of 16 hours of safety education, but it includes, automobile safety, traffic regulations, but it does say safety in the home, including safe gun storage. But I don't really know what that looks like in the classroom, if we do have some sort of curriculum that teaches safe gun storage. So I guess I'm wondering if we as a board want more information about what that looks like in the classroom, if we want to consider looking at our policy to make it more robust. Just interested if anyone is curious about getting feedback on any of that.
Definitely.
Do you guys as board members see that is something you're personally interested in, like Tom giving an email update to you that says this is where it is, it's an educational purpose, and then if we feel that that's something that should rise up to a presentation or a open discussion, or do you wanna go right to kind of a educational session from admin or Tom on that topic in open session?
I mean, I can provide some answers right now.
Okay.
I mean, cause I, to your question, Kristen, I do not believe we have any curriculum, that would be able to teach or address the, gun safety, curricular aspects in the district at the moment.
There is at the early childhood level. They talk about in the classroom with the students.
Okay.
So is that, so is that, you said, like, so ECC? Okay, but after that, there's nothing? Or,
I'm not
I mean,
sure.
Okay, so.
I know that at ECC, they tell the kids about gun safety.
Okay. So I guess.
That's news to me.
I guess I would like to see, I guess, if, have the discussion or curriculum, whether it's, like, I don't know how ECC does it, but it'd be good to have, if we have a safety, like 16-week safety, sessions or whatever. I wouldn't mind. I don't know if that bill gives supportive resources.
I don't know if the bill does, but I mean, I know we have a local state rep that could probably give us resources. And I don't know, I don't know if we just need to start with what's currently being done to decide if we need it to be more than what it currently is. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a recap of what is done already would be helpful, right? Yeah.
Is that, so, just a question, that is the kind of will of the board or the interest of the board in knowing that the state statute is being complied with as a policy matter, or how it's being complied? I'm just trying to figure out where we sit as a board. Are we looking for specifics? Are we looking for, yes, we're complying, and these are the ways in which we're complying with it?
Well, I think Tom said it, we don't, outside of ECC, we're not compliant, right?
Well, I would like to know more about that statute, because I don't know anything about it.
And I don't know that it seems to be saying that boards
Can.
not
It's not a
necessarily that they
requirement to.
have to.
So-
Right, the bill, if I understand correctly from some, my legislative update things that I get, and there's a lot, like, on those documents, but my understanding is this was a bill, that was generated, I think, in central Illinois, for a little bit of a different reason and different purpose, but it was a bipartisan bill that was supported, as it came through Springfield, and so, I think it's an opt-in kind of, language, right, as you're pointing out, so that it's can opt into it as a policy. And I believe there are certain components added, such as the issuance of gun locks, safe gun locks, for safekeeping of firearms in the home, so. That's, yeah.
Our board policy does mention safety in the home, including safe gun storage, though, so it is in our board policy.
Okay.
So I would think it would be, within what we are allowed to do to say, is the policy being followed? How?
Or how we're
I'm-
implementing,
yeah.
how it's being implemented.
Right.
Right.
I'm inquiring, I'm not arguing against, so I'm just trying to get to.
Yeah, I'm interested, I just need a lot more information on it.
So I don't know if that's something we ask CAC, or I don't know how.
But I mean, in reality, it would go through Tom, because that's an advisory committee through it, so we would effectively ask Tom to put together almost an instructional package to us as to, informational package, excuse me, to us about if it's not being implemented, how it might be implemented if we were interested in that as a board. Because it would effectively be an action item at some point in time, I would imagine. Or we just say it's a part of board policy, that's already a policy that exists, and then we agree that that seems to be a reasonable way to implement it, So, does that make sense, Tom? Does that make sense to everybody else? I just need to learn more about it. I don't know
Right.
anything about it, so I wouldn't be able to make an informed decision right now personally. Other than I think it's a good idea.
Could Maura send us a recap on what's other, I don't know, I guess I don't even know what I'm.
I think that would be part of what Tom could dig into.
Right, could you
I'll
kind
get
of
the
gather
boards and
that
stuff.
some more, okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can get you guys stuff. Yeah, timing on this is actually pretty interesting, because I just had a sit-down with the director for the King County Health Department, and so, knowing that this was a question that was raised, I asked, I was like, curious, I have a question for you. And so they're the ones, actually, I don't know if it's the same resource that Representative Hirschauer is referring to for some of you, but King County Health Department had shared that they do have a grant that funds their ability to give away gun locks. And then we talked about some of the logistics of what that looks like, and I'll be honest with you, I share some concerns about using district property to issue those from the public. I'm not sure I'm 100% comfortable with that. Not because I don't believe in safe storage, for those who own firearms, but for other reasons. Which
Which
can
I
share
think
at a
might be
later
part of
time.
what you're looking into is, like the policy committee does, what are the, the pros and or unintended consequences of a seemingly innocuously good idea, so,
But I'll get more information from the board, for sure.
okay.
And then my last thing, we've had a few people reach out to us about cell phone policies. And we have a board policy regarding cell phones that they must be turned off during the regular school day unless the supervising teacher grants permission for them to be used or if needed during an emergency. And I know, like, I have kids now in middle school and high school, so I talk to them about what that looks like in their classes, and, you know, my high schooler says, well, some teachers, it's just off and away. Other teachers, they have pockets where they have to put their cell phones. But in hearing from some members of the public or parents, there seems to be either different ways different schools deal with it, or maybe the general public doesn't understand what our policy is. So I'm just wondering if we, again, it's like information gathering. Do we want to know what that looks like in different schools? Like, we have a board policy, but the community members are telling us that maybe it doesn't look like what the policy says it's supposed to be like. So I'm just wondering what we can do to reassure them that we have a policy, it's being followed, they're supposed to be off and away.
I don't have any issue with gaining more information about that.
So it would be like re-articulating what our policy is and then a report on how that's being implemented? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, because it seems like, you know, we hear feedback from other parents that doesn't exactly follow what the policy says, so I'm not sure where if there's miscommunication, or I'm not sure.
Well, what I don't know either is this, so one thing that I personally try to weigh when I'm thinking about things is this like an endemic issue, that it is like the people that bring these particular issues to us are a voice of a bigger issue that's out there? Are they having some unique challenges to themselves, and we don't always know that, right? So I would be curious to know if that's kind of the case, right? Is it like, okay, everybody's generally following it, though the implementation may be customized for that school, classroom, or whatever, but it's being followed, great. These are particular issues of particular people that are having, and therefore they can get referred back to the chain of command, back to kind of the principal level to address in classroom problems.
I think that with that, it sounds like a lot of districts that have made updates or done different initiatives, it's really relied on education so that everyone has the same understanding of what the expectations are at each level, that aligns with their board's policy. So whether it's like K through 5 has this, you know, like kind of like list of rules, and then middle school this, and then high school that. Without the education to the parents and the buy-in and just the education of like, why is this a good idea? Why do we want to follow this policy? And here are the consequences that will, you know, what will be in play. I think without that part, that's why we have a lot of confusion. I mean, even from teachers I hear of, different administrators handle it differently. So maybe that's something we can look at too. I don't know. That's
Are
like
you
what
saying that there's confusion among staff about how the policy's enforced, or the procedural, disciplinary procedure, whatever, you know?
Yeah, like I don't think it's a
How
solid
it's being
like,
enforced.
hey, you have 3 times that I'm gonna tell you that your phone's not supposed to be in class. That 3rd time is a referral to the office, or is your, I don't know what is in place enough to say that, but I don't, as a parent, I don't know what happens if my child were to take their cell phone into the classroom necessarily, and I know that there are different rules given by teachers she's had. And I mean, that's one part, but I mean, I've heard it from community too. And from what I look on in different places that I I read articles, I listen to podcasts. I mean, it is an issue that we are seeing around this country. And, you know, talking about the multitasking. And that's something, if we went into that, why it's important, but the educational piece seems to be missing no matter what. I don't think there's been any kind of initiative on that part.
The National Education Association has come out and been really clear that cell phones should be banned in schools. That they've been really clear on that, that there's myriad data to suggest that that is bringing student performance down, it's affecting kids emotionally, it's, so.
And I think you had brought it up before, and we were kind of waiting to see if this bill that was moving through the state would pass, and it sounds like it did
And it
not,
didn't, right.
but that it might come up again.
Yeah,
But,
come up in the veto session.
in the meantime, we do have a policy that states that they should be off and away. So if there are things that happening that parents don't feel like that policy is being followed, what can we do to clarify or educate?
I think that's my question. Is what is actually happening in the schools and in the classrooms that, because I don't know where you draw the line as to, from a board perspective, where we try to get into the classroom on an individualized classroom basis on dictating to a staff member or a principal how they have to manage that process. But I'm at least curious to see how consistent it's being applied of the policy, not how it's being applied for me.
Is policy language different in the districts? Like, I mean, we have a neighboring district that I know they just implemented it this year, so it's probably early on, but I'm curious, is like our policy language, is it something that we need to talk about at the policy level,
So
right?
that's a good question. There's, the way some of the districts I'm aware of, that have taken, a little more of an aggressive approach around cell phone, either limited usage or complete outright banning of the use of cell phones in buildings. You know, one district that's a little south of us here, created a board policy that not only implicates that students are not to be using during instructional time and during the day, but it's also employees, which I thought was interesting. And I think to your point, the union stood behind that as they developed it together over the course of a full year together, working on that project. You know, I know we've referenced St. Charles, their policy is a little different, but their ban on the use of cell phones, you know, similarly, it's kind of a joint effort moving forward, and the policy language doesn't include employees, but there's kind of like this general understanding, like, hey, it's always best practice that we as the adults always model those practices for our students, right? And so, yeah. And then in districts where they're just flat out like banning the use of cell phones, you know, you're talking about, there's various products like Yonder bags, which are pretty, to be honest, I've been to some presentations because I had my own curiosity about what districts were doing about this well before this became a topic. I was just curious, and Yonder bags are very costly. It's like, if you don't know what it is, it's a bag. It's kind of like where you once you put your phone in there and you seal it and lock it, the cell phone signal's done. You can't. It's out of reach. I think it blocks your connection to your smartphone, if I remember correctly. Tony, does that sound about right? Right. And then the teacher, or at a certain unlocked station in the building, students would be able to unlock the bag and get their phone. You know, I think so the reason why I mentioned the joint venture, the time that these districts have spent with their communities, because of this. Our policy and procedures are actually pretty close, if you really think about it. At the elementary level, students, there is no, I don't think our teachers often ask students to use their cell phones in an elementary setting. In fact, just in an informal talking with some of our principals, teachers, the phone's always away if a kid, even in the elementary level, does have a cell phone. It's away. So we're already kind of there on the elementary setting. Middle school and high school, the secondary level, it's usually more towards the lunch or teacher discretion. Kristen, as you read, purely right out of our policy and procedures. So we're pretty close to that. It's the teacher discretion. You know, I was in one class speaking to a class, and teacher was collecting cell phones at the beginning of the period in a basket. I don't see that in every class, so you're spot on. But if we moved towards something, I do still think it's worth making sure, though, we've gone through a process, even though the step's a little small and might seem like time, is that making it a big deal for that close? To me, I think it is based on the stories I've heard from other school districts where part of it is there's an initial reaction from parents saying, no, I gave my kid a cell phone because if something ever happens in that school, I want to know right away from my kid. That was actually part of the video presentation that St. Charles had released and talked about how there was a parent who had that same belief, spent time through the year doing her own research with her small mini subcommittee, and then at the end of it, you know, she shared on her video, like, I was one of those parents. I'm actually now on the other side of it. I'm comfortable with waiting till I hear from the district or the school building.
I think they also had, I watched that one, and they had a detective that actually spoke to, it's actually safer to not have kids with their phones in an emergency and all of that. So, I mean, I think that I'm on board to have the conversation deeper as soon as possible, so that if we do need to have time, because that's not something you can do next month, in 2 months.
Right.
It'd be like, you know, so I'm on board with that, like, I think that's a good idea, personally.
Drew, Sarah, I was spot on kind of with the current practices, right? Yeah, okay. So,
And part of that process that you're talking about is, that process would be gaining kind of understanding from a classroom level of what that might mean and educator impact. And
but it's also about our
collaborating with
parents'
them.
feedback. I
And that
mean,
too.
you know, let's be honest, phones aren't cheap. So, depending on what we do in collecting or holding that property, I also want to be very careful, because I don't want teachers or staff or administrators being responsible for when a student is not, you know, being compliant with what our practice is. We got to figure out what that looks like too, and make sure that parents as a community are bought into it, because those are really expensive devices.
Well, and
We
there's
all know
personal data
that.
on them too.
And there's
They-
personal data,
that you're
great
giving
point,
out.
great point.
So.
And I just want to make sure that that's part of the reason the process is so important, right? And then especially if we get student voice in there, you know. But anyway, it is a long, I think y'all get it. Just shut up.
So, what I'm hearing is the board is generally is interested in this, right? From everybody. What I would propose is that Tom comes back and educates us on whether, for my own, like, are we hearing from people with isolated incidences? And I'm getting to step 2 on this, right? Or there seems to be some corrective action that needs to be taken to make sure our policy in general is in compliance. And B, if there's his recommendation on a deeper process we might need to go through, if that needs to be a part of the corrective action, or we just want to reinforce that policy. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? Okay.
And this is like a long game conversation
Yes.
here, right? Everybody's
This is
on
not
that
like
same
next month
page.
it's gonna be
Okay,
coming
all right.
back. This could be
Need to wrap my head around it a little bit.
On our radar.
on our
Yeah,
radar.
I need to wrap my
So
head around
this
it.
is-
Wait, so then we're not having a I
We're gonna
don't,
talk
I
about
don't
but
love
not
the
implement.
on the radar thing, because we're not effective as a board on the
Well, if
on the
I'm hearing you,
radars.
it's on, when he says on the radar, I don't wanna put words.
I didn't say
Or on radar means we're gonna talk about it, but like, it wouldn't be like something we would like vote on to implement. like
No,
next month.
no, but it sounds like this is a lengthy discussion, but when are we starting that, why do we need to wait to start the discussion, I guess is my curiosity.
Well, I don't know what I guess my question is, I'd like Tom to bring back an understanding of what's going on and what his recommendation is for the next steps on it, to give us a framework for our discussion. If we wanna say, is that in a month, 2 months, 3 months, yes, we can find that out, or we can say, hey, Tom, could you bring back next month, or send us an email about when you think you would be ready for that presentation, so that we can slot it into a meeting.
We are in an earlier part, so if there's any, in my opinion, if there's any like need for us to implement anything and to have that education, this is the time, so that we aren't gonna have to wait a whole nother school year. Because I think what is effective is when you are starting a school year and you're like, hey, this is in place, this is what even if we don't make changes, even if we all come back and say, you know what, it just sounds like we're misinformed as a community on what actually is taking place. We all feel like, yes, education's needed. We need that time. And so if we wait, in my opinion, if we wait too long to even have this initial like in-depth discussion, we're gonna push this out where it's impossible for us to even have anything implemented by the time the next school year comes around.
Well, I hear what you're saying. For me, the way I'm looking at it is right now, we have quite a few initiatives already rolling right now that's taking some bandwidth on both staff committees the working committees that we have that all of you are either representing or hear report outs on. So for me, Danielle, I just want to make sure I understand. Your thinking is that you want to jump on this now to try and possibly have something implemented by the next school year. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, yes, that's my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the board, obviously. Yes, because the way that it makes sense is that everyone's entering a school year with the same information, teachers, parents, students, and we're starting out the school year. And maybe that doesn't have to be the case, but it's a little odd to be like, hey, it's March, we're gonna talk about this. But so if that's the case, we're gonna have to have different discussions about this. It's not gonna be like a one and done, or we're gonna move to action. It sounds like it's a very,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. The process from what other school districts have reported, it's a process, right,
Right.
like anything else. I'm just bored. I'm just hearing tonight, gun curriculum and safety, potential cell phone joint venture, I don't even know what to call it right now. Just something about cell phones as a community effort with the district to review and possibly lead to a new practice and implementation. We've talked about our consulting work and creating an in-depth review process of our consultants and feedback with committees and staff. Kind of, for me, what I'm starting to worry about right now is that we're wanting to tackle every single thing, and my worry is we won't get any of it done then. Even if we use a very aggressive timeline for any of these topics, with the priorities we've already kind of launched into this school year, I'm wondering, would the board be willing to consider maybe some time to think about it and then come back in this October board meeting about, is there a particular priority that the board would have and say, maybe this should be the focus first? We really need to be able to not try to do everything, because it's that danger zone of then you're not gonna accomplish anything, right? And I don't wanna burn out our committees. They're already feeling stretched based on the feedback I'm hearing. You hear the reports, we've got a lot of good stuff going on, and we want that to continue. And I gotta be clear, none of what was raised tonight isn't a great conversation. It's all a great conversation, it's all very important things, but everything's always important, right? That's happening on our roof, it's impacting how we teach our kids and keep our kids safe. So, just a thought about, maybe can we talk about what do we wanna prioritize as the approach?
I think in the case of phones, we've heard from a few parents now. The letter we got that was a physical letter straight up asked us, will you please ban cell phones in the district? So that's a direct ask. We've had, I think, 3 other parents reach out to us about it. I don't know, I think without jumping in and going, okay, this is what an entire overhaul would look like, I think we need to get an idea of, here's what our policy says now, and here's what it actually looks like in practice.
And there's, I think, some ability to have these conversations where I can gather that kind of feedback through either our committees, the district coordinating council, where we have the union's chair reps with our administrator chair reps and have these conversations. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's that's effectively what I was trying to get to was, I'm of the mind occasionally that I'm always trying to balance the fact that, let's say 10 people reach out on a particular issue out of 2,000 kids and let's say 500, 600, 700 families. I don't know.
Do you not talk to parents about cell phones?
I had a parent.
But I don't even know if the parents I do talk to are talking to me that it's a board level issue as opposed to.
No, I mean just personally, do you talk to other parents about struggles you notice your kids having with cell phones, or, it's a big topic, I think. It
Someone
comes up
bought
in
me
my
the
life.
book, The Anxious Generation.
Yes.
And she was like, I'm not bringing this to you asking you as a school board member. I mean, I think it's important for school board members to read this and to be educated on this part, and gifted me the book, which I need the audiobook because I can't. I need to be able to like do dishes and listen. But I've had multiple parents bring up the issue. And I think that the neighboring communities were a spark, but they were like, wait, what is our policy? And it kind of brought up those, and people come, like
Yeah, I've read the book. I mean, and that book has multifaceted approaches as to why this is a problem in our generation right now. It's not singular, right? In fact, what I would really consider is that this is a symptom that, if I'm being honest with you, society has asked schools to do everything. They want teachers to do everything now, include parent the kid. You know, and the expectations are just increasing at an alarming rate that, like, you know, think about it. When I first started teaching, our big list of drills was to do a fire drill and tornado drill, right? Now we ask teachers to figure out and memorize plans if there's an active shooter inside the school building. Now we are trying to make sure teachers understand, report to your principal right away if for whatever reason in your eyes at recess or something, you see certain types of law enforcement agents, go get your principal. We have protocols how to handle that. But the escalation of what we're asking staff and our administrators, quite frankly, to do is really quick, right? So when I think about this book, that's part of the reason why I think communities have used that book, but as a communal study with parents and other stakeholders, because inside of that text, it talks about parents' responsibilities to monitor what your child is doing with that cell phone, right? Because quite frankly, if the kid accidentally jumps on our network using that phone, it's over. We got them. Like, our systems will monitor everything that they're doing. It's when you're at home or when they go off that, right? So I think that's a big component of it. I think there's a big component that talks about in that book what are some really typical natural things that children should experience and go through in person that social media and the virtual world has taken away from the youth. But that's a very uncomfortable conversation, because that also means then we are flirting with the ability for children to have to learn from each other when one child doesn't behave exactly the best to another child, and how they have to navigate those social relationships and social contexts as children, right? And so, I don't know why I'm going this deep, but the book, I enjoyed the book, honestly. I think it's really important. I agree with you. I got 3 kids myself that are going through this, and the book also talks about when children go through puberty and what this is impacting with their brain wiring and their behaviors. And so to me, I think it's super critical important.
I think we can say as adults, if we're being honest, we struggle to temper our cell phone usage.
I mean, how many cell phones are sitting up here?
Yeah, right.
That's why mine's in my office.
Right. So
bring it on.
I think it's
I don't wanna
definitely a
hold the
combo worth having, just in terms of what are we modeling for the kids, because I think probably when you get into cell phone stuff, I think the adults are probably impacted positively too, based on what we decide is best for the students.
I think that's part of the education piece too, that it comes where it's coming from the parents too, is once you actually learn the science of how your brain operates, that we can't truly like multitask.
Right.
And when kids are having those alerts pop up, even if it's in their bag and whatnot, how it impacts them, because then they lose focus from this to that, and that it is impossible for you to kind of focus. And then there's the science behind like the dopamine hits and all that. So that education that goes to the family is, I mean, it's out of our hands, but it's great to be able to provide that sort of information of why the district might feel that this is a good thing.
So my perspective is I agree that these are great topics of discussion. They're important. The lens I'm viewing it through, hearing Tom and the discussion, is part of the challenge of a board is prioritizing, because we have limited bandwidth, limited resources, and I would use the analogy of warm, safe, and dry. So obviously, HT Storm, we had to prioritize. We would like all of our buildings to have all the updates all at once. But because of so HT Storm, Louise White, it would be ideal to do those renovations simultaneously, so every child in those 2 buildings had the benefit of those renovations. But because of limited resources, bandwidth, other projects we're working on, we were just talking about the new math curriculum, the stress that's putting on our teachers as they implement that. What I would think, what it would be, the challenge for the board is, while these are all important discussions, it is fair to say it's hard to tackle them all at once and do a great job on all of them. Because if we do it, we want to do changes that are meaningful, that are having the impacts that we hope benefit kids, families, and the community. And so I can appreciate that trying to tackle it all at once while we have all these other initiatives we're doing might not be that strategic, and that we should try to figure out a way to figure out, Tom might even be able to say, like, maybe this is one that we could tackle this year. This is one, after analysis, it's going to take a little more time. This is something that would be this, like warm, safe, and dry. There's like a checklist of when we're going to start to knock them off. Because I am cognizant that, if you try to do everything you can, if we do it, we want to do it in a way that has the most impact and it's done right the first time. And so we're not having to go back. And anything we do, as we've talked about in other projects, we learn. And if we do implement something, it doesn't mean it's finished. As we're doing with the school reports, we implement something, we evaluate it, and we continue to refine to continue to get better. So in my opinion, these are all worthy topics and important topics, but it is reasonable to figure out if there's one that's the highest priority for us, then maybe we say that's where we start to tackle. And Tom, I would say your team might be able to provide feedback on maybe this one's low-hanging fruit. This one's going to be more challenging, or it's going to need more engagement from our partners like the BEA to get where they stand on it, and then we move forward like that.
I think in terms of the cell phone stuff, I feel like there's almost no obstacle and no cost to tightening up cell phone regulations or policies. I feel like that could be something easier. I don't know about like public buy-in on it. I just know from personal experience, just not talking as a board member, but just parent to parent. Parents are frustrated by the amount of time their kids spend on devices at home. And I think, I don't know, I think the 6 or so hours of school a day is a good opportunity to easily get them off of that and say, we're not going to do that in this environment. But maybe it's more complicated than that. I don't know.
I think the thing is it's the teacher discretion. So if I teach art, and I like to always have Rob teaches math, right, because he is an engineer.
Super smart math guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he might have a lesson, that, hey, you know what, get out your phones and you're gonna go to this website and do this. Well, like, so my kid goes to his class, hey, we got to use our cell phones because of this, and come to my class, I'm like, hey, your cell phones away. You know, and that's the thing, it's like, so the kid's coming home and, maybe Aaron's kid is saying like, well, why did you get to use your cell phone and I didn't? Like, I'm in math and I didn't get to use it, why do you get to use it? And that's the thing.
And it's different examples because of different classes.
And that's the thing, so I'm not saying like, I don't think we should, I think Tom needs to actually go to the committees and go to like the polls and say, hey, teachers, okay,
Is this a
elementary
problem?
teachers, what are you doing? All of them say, nope, okay. Middle school teachers, do you use them? 50%, that's what it is, it's the teacher discretion, so, and the thing is if the teacher says no, that teacher just has to be supported in that decision. And, whether this is, well, the community's coming to me, it's like, okay, did you address this with the teacher? Did you address this at the school level? Like, I'm not gonna know what's going on, like you said, in like the high school freshman comp. I don't know what's going on with that, like, and we shouldn't know what's going on with that. So I think that's the big thing, is I think Tom needs to just poll for this issue and say, what's the percentage of people using cell phones as part of lessons or whatever, and what's the percentage not? And that way we can say, hey, it's the teacher's discretion, we support the teachers in their decisions, if they're using it as part of a lesson, and if they say, nope, I think that's just what we really need, just to capture that data, and then I think we can decide, do we wanna be restrictive? Because if teachers are actually gonna use this as a lesson, it's kinda like AI, right? We were first like, hey, AI, but now we have a policy about AI, where it's under the discretion of teachers and so forth. So if it's a tool that the teachers can use, I'm for it. But if it's a tool where the teacher says, I don't want this in my class, then we need to support that teacher.
And I'm also curious about how the teachers may feel if it is something they are not able to manage in their classroom for some reason, and what tools they may recommend that firming up the language or whatever may help, right? Like if there's teachers will know firsthand whether they're actually having an educational impact in their classroom, and what would they be able to do or not do. My kids came through school primarily at a time when this was beginning to be a problem, let's say, and one of my kids actually had a education, like a 504, that was supposed to allow them to use their phone because it was the only way they could keep track of their schedule and their homework and everything else, because they didn't have a laptop at the time. So there are reasons to do things sometimes, and then in even that case, we talked to the teacher when the teacher said he couldn't bring his phone out or whatever else. We went and talked to the teacher to understand why, and then sometimes we agreed, sometimes we didn't, but most of the time we did. So I guess my point is, I'd like to hear a bit as a part of that polling, if it's what everybody thinks, is there an adverse educational impact in their classroom that this language could assist on? So that sounds a lot like dig a little deeper, find some information, bring it back to us to see what the extent of the current challenges are around this, because our policy effectively says no phones except for teacher discretion.
I just want to go back to what Tom was talking to, though, so I don't think you guys that we found a solution. Because we're asking him to look and get back to us on a lot of things, and time-wise, are we asking him to are we trying to prioritize which things he's coming back to us with? Or,
Well, if we can do that now, yes, otherwise I think part of me would say, ask Tom to say, okay, of the things I heard, these are the things I think I can tackle, in what order I think I can tackle them in. Or, as he asked us to do, can you establish a priority of what's most important?
Can we just do a separate email and
I was thinking that
say,
too.
hey, here's your 3. You tell me what's 1, 2, and 3, and then if the majority wins. So if people think that cell phone should be number 1, that wins. If we think that the gun curriculum, safety is number 1, that one wins. That's what, I think that would just be the easiest. Just send us an email with the 3, we send them back how we feel is 1, 2, and 3, majority wins.
Does that work? And then you have an idea where
Is
you should
everyone
spend
okay
your
with that?
time? Yeah, that's fine.
Are you okay with that?
Can I just say that with the cell phone policy, we do have a policy, and I think in the very least, we could try to make efforts to make sure that students and parents understand what the policy is. Because it seems like some people maybe don't understand that there is a policy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a fair point. All right, so I'll send an email out, Katie will help me make sure that I do, that says these are the 3, and then you guys respond back to me, because I'm the only person that can effectively do that, with your prioritization.
So really quick, can we just add in backpack mail, can we just add, hey, here's our cell phone policy in the link?
It would be in the district weekly, our Wednesday messenger.
I mean, as a first step,
So to keep it clean, because we're supposed to give Tom direction, we were requesting if there's a way of creating a communication about this topic to the community about what our policy is and what it effectively means. Which actually aligns a little bit to it, at least initially, what Danielle was talking about on starting an education component.
can we do the thing for, the feedback first, so then we can take the time and space to talk
Sure.
about it more in depth, or else we're just gonna be in we're really good at doing that.
Okay,
But,
so, yeah, so that's fine with me, so.
Let's do our polling,
So
and then
for right now, hold on figuring out the communication, because maybe that'll come out of the process. and then we prioritize. Fair. I think that makes sense.
So what will the options be? Cell phone,
The,
gun
Gun
safety
policy
education?
and consultants.
Oh,
Okay.
Discussion points,
That was your last one, right?
yes, sorry. I'm done.
You're allowed 3, huh?
All right, Rob, let her rip. What you got?
That's a tough act to follow. So I'm going to keep it very short. Just hope all the students, teachers, administrators are continuing to have a good start to the school year. So wish for continued success.
for those celebrating Rosh Hashanah, just Happy New Year. September is also National Suicide Prevention Month, so just be aware, be kind to people. You don't always know what people are going through. And then lastly, Happy National Hispanic Heritage Month.
I also want to congratulate the Fine Arts Department at the high school for being recognized as a school of distinction. And I just want to thank all the partners that BPS 101 has. I've been out, I'm helping coach, I'm doing some other things, Hall of Honor, and it never ceases to amaze me that when there's a need, if the word goes out, there's a lever to pull in our community where those needs seem to be able to be met almost instantaneously sometimes. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is a community effort, and so I appreciate everyone who's out there doing their part to make a contribution.
That's it?
That's it.
All right.
Dan's like, I thought I had more time to think about it.
Yeah, I know, I had to prepare
She
mine.
saw all these notes, she's like, boy, he's gonna roll.
Okay. I did prepare mine ahead of time. All right, so I'd like to take some space just to discuss a couple things while they're very near to me and my experiences. It's not the only reason for bringing them up. I do want to share my perspective as I comment on them. Increasing student attendance is something BPS is working hard on, and I know there are various efforts to help with the issue. I want to speak directly to the need of gathering the stories and reasons behind the data. I personally would love and support any initiative, to do this with fidelity. As someone who suffered immense family issues during my high school years, I do know what it feels like to not have the opportunity or privilege to see school as a priority. I know what that guilt and shame feels like when you try to go to class and people assume you're a lost cause, and then you think you're lazy or that you just simply don't care. I do understand what it feels like to not have a single adult really invest their time or energy into understanding why there are absences and maybe what resources may help better a situation. I come from a background that understands what a difference a single adult interested in the full story could have made for attendance and school experience. It's not enough to speak about the importance of going to school, to state what can happen to your future if you miss school, to even have awards or other incentives for going to school. A child or teen can't understand the true weight of those decisions, and no matter what, they are simply living the best they can and doing the best they can in the environments that they are in. That's a hard one to get through. So I just wanted to share that part about attendance. And something that is also related is the experience that our Latinx and immigrant families are currently facing due to the increase in activity against them and their families. We have plans in place for how to deal with ICE and similar agencies, but I'm not sure of the inclusivity of what tactics we are now seeing being used in the past months, weeks, and days. These agencies aren't acting on warrants or even asking schools for permissions. They are targeting school areas before and after school times. Families are scared to be broken apart no matter their status. Even just looking Latina is enough in this moment in time, and is a fear that I can personally relate to. I do wonder, do we have plans for students who are too fearful to attend in person, maybe to pivot to virtual? If so, is it a process everyone knows about using? This attendance issue is a perfect example of many of why a student may not be at school. Beyond the attendance issue is the concern students and families have of walking to and from school, to and from their bus stops. I do know that there are some surrounding communities that have implemented special watch teams for those times, since it's not when students are protected by the school walls that we can help with. While Batavia doesn't have a large Latine or immigrant population, or as large of one as some of the surrounding suburbs who have been hit hard by these issues, I don't feel that we should wait. We should be proactive and understand that there is so much fear. And there are so many organizations who are more than willing to offer their services and education for the communities. Again, I know these issues are very close to me, but I would speak out on them and ask for the discussion even if they weren't. I just wanted the ability to speak to them and let you all know that if there is any interest by any others to hold more discussion, I will absolutely support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually only have one question left. Everything else got answered. For my secretary follow-up document, we are kind of going back and forth. I had tried to get it done quickly the first time, and that kind of created some work for Cindy. Was sort of easier for me this time to wait until she and I could get together on it, but now Craig is pointing out to me that there were some things that probably were a little more urgent and could have been communicated earlier. So I don't know what timeline we want on my follow-up document after meetings. I had kind of mentioned to y'all that I think maybe following the minutes is a good gauge, but if there's something more urgent that the board needs to bring feedback on or something like that, I don't know, I guess maybe it's just a matter of kind of picking through and seeing what's what. But does anybody take issue with me taking a little longer on that document? Is that something that's come up as an issue for fellow board members at all?
The only challenge I have is trying to make sure that things get on the agenda for that need to be on the
Yes,
agenda.
right.
So when it comes out at the meeting minutes time, it's
Right,
too late
it's
to
too
add
late
it
for
to the
that.
agenda.
Yeah.
So I guess the only thing I would ask is, Katie works with me to say, okay, these are the things that the meeting, I mean, it doesn't need to be three days before, it doesn't need to be 3 weeks before, but sometime in the
But I
first
can
week.
flag too, like, this might come up as something that needs to get on the agenda, so
Right.
we'll kind of keep an eye on
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, is just
Okay.
you fill me, like, you can reach out to me to say, hey, this is the thing, and copy Tom, and say,
Okay.
this is what I think coming out of that meeting, that might be an agenda item that we
Okay.
all, that way, if I feel the need to, or others feel the need to, they can go in and look at the, the video and say, okay, yes, of course, that needs to be one of them. 'Cause
Okay.
I will be honest, like, the topic about the consultants, I came from recollection going, well, I don't think that hit that part yet. But then I went back and looked at the video and I said, totally did. Kristen brought it up during the board comments, right? And so it maybe should have been, just didn't have time to get it in because of I walked away from a slightly different impression about a week or two later in my
Okay.
head than what actually happened,
So I guess, is everyone okay with us kind of playing with the timeline for right now and not adhering to the strict, okay, so we
I think the
will.
only concern I have, is that when we had the discussion, was us being quicker would potentially then allow Tom and his team then to produce whatever, if we're asking them for action or for whatever. And if we wait, but maybe you're saying that if there's those items, then you would get them, but I think that's why we wanted that quick turnaround time, so we could all say, yes, that's what we understood.
Yeah.
Because one of the problems we were having is that we weren't all sure if we were on the same page about the direction to Tom.
Okay.
And so this was supposed to address that, so that like he wasn't coming and being like, wait a minute, or they don't have enough time to prepare for it. So I think that would be the only
Yeah,
thing
and
for
so
me.
what might be helpful in this conversation is that the minutes probably should not be used as the tool to rely on that particular work that you guys are
Right.
doing.
No, and I'm not, it just is like,
Yeah.
sometimes when Cindy
Semi.
comes with the draft minute, then it's like, oh yeah, that part of it, or, you know what I mean, like
You
it's.
might catch up on something.
Right.
Well, I think we can give capacity for that. I mean, part of me.
To
almost-
update it
To
later?
update it. I
Okay.
mean, the thing I'm almost thinking is like, just almost like your running Google Doc that he has of, this is a running Google Doc. of,
Yeah.
Let's just say just future action items. Boom,
Okay.
boom, boom, boom,
Yep.
boom. And that way, if Tom or team needs to go back and look at those things, and then maybe there's a line that says, okay, this is our anticipated date of them being on an agenda. And then they don't need to be kind of because what you're doing is a great job, and they're kind of coming as kind of comprehensive notes, and I think part of just getting to the nut of what we needed was, what are the things we're supposed to pay attention to over time, so we don't lose it.
That, and just to ensure that we're all walking away, again, like this is a perfect thing, Kristen walking away thinking it's gonna be, something's gonna be on the agenda.
I
Not on
didn't have the same impression.
Right, so that was what this is supposed to help with, is like exactly this, for Katie to say, hey, guys, it's ready from the last board meeting, and I think we were talking about whatever the daytime was. And then for us to review the document, if we wanted to, and be like, yeah, that's, I mean, we're able then to insert, you would be able to say, wait a minute, are you sure that we were
That
supposed to put
wasn't
that on the
there?
agenda?
Or do like I did this time, look at
Review
that and
it.
go, whoa, I remembered that wrong, you know, that kind of thing.
It prevents us from going a whole
Yeah.
month with a total misunderstanding, and so, and that's why I had initially asked about the action items.
Then I will focus on getting mine done quicker, and then,
Can you, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, no, go ahead.
Can you make it like just a Google Doc where we can all view it and say, hey, these were my notes? And like, action item, or to be on action item in October, talk
October or
about
whatever,
this.
yeah.
Just let us know if you've updated it.
Yep.
And that way we can be like, if I want to, I can look in, if I don't say
Right,
anything to
you
you,
just
then
go
it is
in.
what it
Then I-
is.
then it is what it-
What you wrote is how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or I just didn't worry to look at it, I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I wanna get in is how do we do a feedback loop that we wanna make sure doesn't inadvertently violate Open Meetings Act, right?
Do we need to email you?
It
Oh,
maybe
right.
has to come back to me,
Through
I don't
Craig,
know,
yeah.
right? If you see something that's
working on it,
erroneous,
that's
then
fair.
violates.
Let me look at it
No, I'd-
for this
yeah, I
one,
wouldn't
and
do a
I'll work
reply
with
at
you
all.
on it.
I would
I
just
wasn't
send an
assuming you would.
email just to you or
Right.
Katie and
Right,
say,
right, right.
or probably both of you.
And then the Google Doc would have to be view only.
Right, it would
That's
be
right.
me
That's the
editing
part.
it, but you
Yeah.
could
'Cause if
go
we're all
in to
editing, that's
see,
the
did I,
conversation.
yes, yeah,
We
yeah.
wouldn't, yeah, I don't.
Yes.
I think it's been view only since the beginning, right?
I think so, but I'll check on all the accesses and permissions and stuff. Okay, all right, that's what I wanted, and then, yeah, just happy, Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month, and I hope everybody's having a good year so far. And that's it.
Right, a couple of things is, Tom, I appreciate you expressing the difficult time as, you know, our employee of saying, hey, you gotta help me prioritize these things here, so I appreciate you bringing that up so that we can, be better partners as we move forward. The congratulations again to the art department, I know how hard they all work, and that, you know, it's nice to see the hard work kind of represented in accolades and from a state level. I would be remiss if I didn't say anything, but this is really my first year where I have like zero involvement in the marching band. So while part of me was wondering how they would fare without me, I'm very happy to see that they're doing amazingly well.
Improbable. I don't know how that happened.
You know, so
really
somehow they managed to get the props built without me being involved. So good on them. And they are doing great. And then just as a reminder, and because to show you how extraordinarily non-involved I am, at some point in time is coming up as the community performance. I will probably remind Chris Owen that if he could jump out an invite to the board and please come. It is an amazing event, as you all know, and it's just fun to see, and you don't often get to see that stage of that game without a football game. You know, as grandparents say, I went to see a marching band that had a football game surrounding it.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. So, and it's amazing because they'll usually fill up the whole stadium, and a couple of years in a row for a while, almost the entire football team showed up to support them. So it's some really good stuff. So. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Raquel,
Second.
second by Aaron. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. It is now 9:24 PM and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody.